Hi, everybody. My name is Kim Hoffman, and this is my presentation for our class. Just to say a little bit about myself, I have three children. My oldest name is Sean, my middle is Michaela, and my youngest is JT. My oldest son graduated from college and is pursuing his LSATs to hopefully go to to law school. My middle daughter is a senior in high school and hopes to play soccer in college and be a physical therapist. And my youngest one over here is JT, who has autism, and we wouldn't want him any other way. This is my husband right here, who is the chief of police in the local town next to where we live. Something about my personal life. I used to be a third grade teacher, and for the last 4 years, I've been the gifted and talented teacher and recently the STEAM teacher as well in my school district. Some hobbies and interests. I love to read, I love to run, I love to spend time with my family and friends. Of course, I love to shop, cook, bake, and my all-time favorite is going to the beach. Throughout our readings, we learned about the 7 strategies assessment for learning. While teachers, we deepen our understanding of assessment, namely formative assessment. We're introduced to the Australian researcher, Ms. Sadler. Sadler, through explanation of how students and teachers can teach learning on a successful track, developed 7 strategies for assessment. The strategy 1 provides a clear, understandable vision of learning target, and students need to understand what is expected of them through terms. They understand the rubric. And I find that in my classroom, I always provide them with an outline of the project or a rubric. Strategy 2 uses examples and models of strong or weak work. Providing students with examples helps them understand where they're going in their learning. And in my STEAM class, I always try to provide them with models also. Sometimes the models are things that were successful in class, and sometimes they weren't successful. And I find that they're true motivators for my students. Strategy 3 has to do with offer regular descriptive feedback during the lesson. And I find that this helps with higher level responses, asking questions to provide that metacognition. And in my STEAM classroom, I provide that feedback by walking around the room and asking questions to my students that is trying to not so much give them answers, but leading them to correct answers. Strategy 4, teach students to self-assess and set goals for next steps. This has to do with having students critique their own work and self-reflect on what they're doing. The way this is done in my classroom is using the engineering design process. Strategy 5, use evidence of student learning needs to determine next steps in teaching. Teachers should gauge what students understand to determine what the next step in learning the process should be. After introducing a project, I provide time for questions and answers. Then I walk around the room and I provide a monitoring seat to make sure that students are on the right track. And if I find they are not, then I regroup and we go over and see where the gaps of learning have occurred. Strategy 6, design focused instruction followed by practice with feedback. That's where you narrow the focus of learning to a specific strategy within the lesson. And within the STEAM classroom, I found that an example would be with coding. I wouldn't expect a student to be able to do high-level coding with low-level coding all at the same time. So if I was looking for something specific, maybe I would look at the focus of maybe moving a robot forward or backward, and I would focus on that skill first rather than introducing like an infrared piece of a robot. Strategy 7, provide opportunities for students to track, reflect, and share on their learning. And that is where we have that metacognition again, reflection on our learning. And to be honest with you, the best place that I found to do that is using Flipgrid. It's a video chat where it allows the students to actually go back and do a video and to reflect on their learning. And I found it works fabulous in my classroom. And I hope that you liked listening to my video. Thank you very much.